I want to begin with a small scene from The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. There is a moment when the little prince talks about his rose. Out of all the things that he could notice on his tiny planet, he chooses to water the rose, protect it, and listen to it. What makes the rose special is not that it is rare. It is that he has given it his attention. The story always reminds me that what we attend to becomes more meaningful, almost sacred. It brings me to today's question. What deserves attention at this stage of the change? It also makes me think of Marcus Aurelius in Meditations. He reminds himself that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, where we place our inner attention shapes who we become. And then there is Simone Weil. In her essays in Waiting for God, she writes that attention is one of the purest forms of generosity. Not achievement, not efficiency, attention. Saint-Exupéry, Marcus Aurelius, Simone Weil. Very different voices, quietly pointing to the same truth. At every stage of change, there is something that deserves more of us and something that deserves less. I am Ali Jama, and I have a change question. This is a short solo series inside the inner game of change, just me exploring the questions that stay with me and offering them to you in case they stay with you too. It is not therapy and it is not advice. It is simply a quiet moment to pause together and think about the changes shaping our lives. What deserves attention at this stage of the change? Here's something that I've noticed in myself and in many people I work with. When a change first begins, our attention is scattered. We try to watch everything at once. The risks, the opinions, the deadlines, the possible outcomes. But as the change moves on, the scattered attention starts to drain us. What we really need is not more awareness of everything. We need a clearer sense of what deserves attention now. Stories understand this very well. Think of Santiago and the Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. At the start of his struggle, his attention is on strength, endurance, and sheer effort. But as the journey continues, something shifts. He becomes more selective, more precise. He begins to understand that not everything deserves his attention. Only the essential does. Attention evolves as the journey evolves. And so do we. Think also of Jane Eyre in Charlotte Bronte's novel. In her early life, her attention is on survival and self-protection. Later, it shifts to dignity and independence. By the final stages of her story, what deserves her attention is different again. Integrity, alignment, a life that reflects her values. Or Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings. At first, his attention is on moving quietly and protecting others from a distance. Later, a new stage of change arrives. Leadership becomes the thing that deserves his focus. Hemingway, Bronte, Tolkien. Different worlds, same idea. The attention that carries us at the beginning is not always the attention that carries us at the end. Psychologists sometimes talk about the attentional spotlight. Daniel Goleman, in his work on focus and emotional intelligence, reminds us that attention is a limited resource. We cannot shine the spotlight everywhere, so the real skill is choosing where to direct it. During change, that choice becomes very important. If our attention stays stuck on old fears or the wrong details, the experience of the change becomes heavier than it needs to be. If our attention shifts to what truly matters in this stage, things feel more workable, often. So maybe the deeper question is not how do I stay on top of everything? Maybe it is what deserves attention now and what can I gently release from the front of my mind? If you would like a simple way to feel into that, here's a practice I usually follow and you can try. Look back. Ask yourself, early in this change, what needed your attention that no longer does? Perhaps it was convincing others, perhaps it was simply finding the courage to begin. Has that part already done its job? Look around. What is happening now that feels alive or tense or unfinished? Is it relationships? Is it your own energy? Is it a decision that keeps circling back? Look within. What feeling or thought keeps returning when you slow down? Sometimes the thing that deserves attention is not external at all. It might be your own sense of fatigue or value you've been sidelining or a small boundary that needs to be honored. The answers are rarely loud. They arrive as nudges. What I find moving is that when we shift our attention, the people around us feel it too. When a leader shifts their attention from control to learning, the team breathes differently. When a parent shifts their attention from perfection to presence, the atmosphere at home softens. When a friend shifts attention from their own anxiety to really listening, others feel seen. Attention does not stay inside our head. It travels. Simone Weil's idea stays with me here. If attention is a form of generosity, then choosing what deserves attention at this stage of the change is an act of generosity towards yourself and towards others. It is a way of saying, this is where I will stand, this is what I will care about on purpose. So here's my question for you this week. In the part of change you are living through right now, what truly deserves your attention? And what might gently fall away if you let it? I will leave you with this question. And if you would like to explore more of these ideas, come over to the Inner Game of Change podcast. You might find something there that meets you exactly where you are. Until next time.